What's up, y'all? It's your girl Kenzo for Life here, and today we're going to be talking about if Treyarch is just a shell now, and is Activision to blame? Remember the lightning in a bottle that was the original Black Ops? The mind-bending story, the characters we still quote, the absolute thrill of it all. Remember firing up zombies for the first time? That mix of pure terror and joy as you tried to survive just one more round with your friends? That was Treyarch. A studio that didn't just make games, they made memories. They built worlds. They basically defined a whole generation of first-person shooters. They were the innovators, the risk takers, the passionate beating heart of the Call of Duty franchise. But the Treyarch that did all that, it's gone. What we have now is a hollowed out shell, a ghost of its former self. It's a brand name stamped on products that are missing the very soul we all fell in love with. So, how did the creative heart of Call of Duty get surgically removed? Well, when you start peeling back the layers, the answer is painfully simple. Activision. To really get how we got here, you have to look at the machine itself. For years, Call of Duty has run on a brutal, non-stop annual release schedule. The franchise was a three-headed beast, with Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer Games, and Treyarch taking turns in the lead. In theory, this gave each studio a 3-year cycle to build a full game. And for a while, it actually worked. It let each team develop its own unique flavor. Infinity Ward gave us gritty, modern military realism. Sledgehammer played around with advanced movement, and Treyarch had the Black Ops saga and the beautiful creative chaos of zombies. But the gears of this machine never stopped grinding, and the pressure was always building. The annual release date wasn't just a goal, it became a golden, unbreakable rule. Slowly, the walls between the studios started to crumble. It wasn't about 3 distinct teams on a 3-year cycle anymore. It became an all-hands-on-deck scramble to ship a product, any product, on time. This shift hit a breaking point during the development of what would become Black Ops Cold War. Originally, Sledgehammer and Raven were in charge of the 2020 title. But according to widespread reports, development was a mess, plagued by internal arguments. So, what did Activision do? They pulled the plug, handed the entire project over to Treyarch, who had just survived the exhausting crunch of Black Ops 4, and basically told them to finish it. This wasn't a choice about creative vision. It was a corporate mandate. Treyarch was no longer the captain of its own ship. It was a repair crew brought in to salvage a sinking vessel and still expected to deliver a Treyarch quality game in a fraction of the time. The age of creative freedom was over. The age of the content factory had begun. A studio is more than just its name. It's the people, the culture, and the leaders who steer the ship. And one by one, the pillars that held up the golden age of Treyarch started to fall. The first, and maybe the biggest blow, was losing key creative leaders. Jason Blundell, the man who directed the beautifully complex zombie storyline we all obsess over, left the studio in 2020. His departure was followed by co-studio head Dan Bunting in 2021, amid harassment allegations that Activision's own CEO had reportedly stepped in to protect him from. Then, in 2023, David Vonderhaar, a veteran of nearly 19 years and the public face of Black Ops multiplayer, announced he was leaving too. These weren't just names on a payroll, they were the architects of Treyarch's very identity. Their departures left a massive creative vacuum. This leadership crisis was unfolding while the studio was drowning in what can only be described as soul-crushing crunch. During the development of Black Ops 4, the last-minute pivot from a campaign to the Blackout Battle Royale mode reportedly threw the studio into chaos. Developers spoke of panic attacks and burnout. QA testers, the people who are essential for a stable game, were allegedly treated like second-class citizens, working insane hours under terrible conditions. That's not an environment that inspires creativity. It's an environment that manufactures exhaustion and resentment. The passion that defined Treyarch was being systematically snuffed out by impossible deadlines and a shocking disregard for its own people. And what about their crown jewel, zombies? The mode that was once Treyarch's signature innovation has now become just another asset to be passed around. Instead of protecting their creation, they were pulled in to co-develop the Zombies mode for Sledgehammer's Modern Warfare 3, the 2023 version. A collaborative effort that still stretches their resources and diluted their creative ownership of the mode. The message was clear: nothing belonged to Treyarch anymore. Everything belonged to the franchise. If you want to see the end result of this decline, look no further than the rumored strategy for Call of Duty 2025. Leaks, which have become the most reliable source of COD news, strongly suggests that the 2025 title will be a Treyarch-developed entry in the Black Ops universe, set in the near future. And what's the big innovation for this new installment? Its multiplayer launch content will reportedly consist almost entirely of remastered maps from Black Ops 2. Let that sink in. The studio, once famous for pushing the franchise in bold new directions, is now, by all accounts, being told to just repackage its own decade-old work. This isn't innovation. This is the safest, most predictable business decision imaginable. Activision saw the warm enough reception to Modern Warfare 3, launching with remastered maps, and decided to run exact same play with Treyarch. This is the tipping point because it's the final stage of the hollowing out process. First, you take away their independence by forcing them to clean up another studio's mess. Then you burn out their talent and watch their visionary leaders walk out the door. And finally, you strip away what's left of their creative ambition and reduce them to a nostalgia factory, endlessly strip mining their own legacy for a quick buck. The Treyarch that made Black Ops 2 is long gone. The new Treyarch is simply being asked to copy and paste it. The result of this slow motion collapse is the Treyarch we see today. A studio that feels lost, a name without the identity that once made it special, and the community feels it. We see it in the games. For all its bright spots, Black Ops Cold War was a game visibly stitched together under duress. It felt rushed because it was rushed. The clear product of a chaotic development cycle where Treyarch was just trying to hold things together. More recently, disturbing testimonies from former developers have painted a grim picture of the culture inside. One ex-developer described a studio with no passion, no drive, and no soul, placing the blame on studio leadership for fostering a hostile and manipulative environment. The allegations include management pushing employees to write fake 5-star reviews on Glassdoor to secure promotions and failing to pay out promised bonuses after months of brutal crunch. When these are the stories coming from behind the curtain, is it any wonder the games themselves feel like they're missing something? The passion seems to have been replaced by obligation. The drive to innovate has been crushed by the demand for content, no matter how recycled it is. Treyarch's unique identity has been swallowed by the giant Call of Duty machine, which now needs all of its studios working on one single monolithic franchise. They're no longer a lead studio in the traditional sense. They're a support pillar for a corporate strategy, tasked with filling content gaps and keeping the annual schedule alive at any cost. This story is all too common in the gaming world, but it hurts more when it's a studio so many of us grew up with. But what do you think? Does today's Treyarch feel like the same one that made the classic Black Ops games? When did you first notice that something had changed? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Treyarch was once the rebellious, innovative heart of Call of Duty. They gave us some of the series' most iconic campaigns, incredibly balanced multiplayer, and of course, they created the cultural phenomenon that is zombies. They were living proof that a massive franchise could still have room for a distinct, creative identity. But that studio is just a memory now. Today, Treyarch exists as a shell, a brand name hollowed out by years of relentless corporate pressure and a development model that values yearly output over innovation, quality, and the health of its creators. The story of Treyarch is a tragedy. It's a case study in what happens when corporate greed is allowed to completely steamroll creative passion, leaving us all with nothing but the ghosts of the great games they used to make. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, stay frosty.